Good evening. I would like to welcome you to my Cultivating Conscious Leadership TED Talk. This evening, I would like to share with you my perspective on what I feel is one of the most powerful aspects of conscious leadership for women, and that is transformative leadership. But before we begin, I want to invite you to really listen to this discussion with your heart. And so to get to that place, that heart-centeredness, I invite you to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths with me. A deep inhale, pause, softly exhale it out. Another deep breath in, pause, softly exhale it out. And one more deep breath in. Pause, and then softly exhale it out. Please draw your awareness now to your heart center. And once you are there, notice the vibration, the pulsating, the calmness. And it is here that we want to set an intention for our heart to be open and for our body to be present in this moment. Let's take another deep breath in. Softly exhale it out. And you can begin to open your eyes and come back into the space. So thank you for doing that grounding exercise with me that will allow all of us to be more present and united by heart in this moment. So let's talk about transformative leadership and why I feel it is so empowering, especially for women. So I view transformative leadership as a radical act of evolving our personal, professional, communal, environmental, and universal lives through healing, empowerment, and most of all, creation. This type of leadership requires us to go beyond the limitations of status quo, survival, and capitalistic endeavors. So the day that I began my exploration into transformative leadership is the day that I decided to walk away from corporate America. And that day was Friday, October 3rd, 2014, and I remember it just like it was yesterday. So I've always considered myself, especially after 25, 30, almost 30 years in corporate leadership, to be a competent and strong leader. I would have to say that I mastered the white man's bravado, lingo, dress, and business acumen. If it wasn't for my breast, my blackness, my black hair, and basically my refusal to indulge in conversations about my very black cultural personal life, I may have fit right into the old boys club. My leadership style was very much rooted in hierarchical, patriarchal, pontifical demonstrations of knowledge and authority. However, I was always that leader with a heart. I never subscribed to the ideology that leaders must be firm, controlling, manipulative, and or domineering to earn the respect of their bosses and peers or to intimidate their direct reports. I was always a compassionate leader who took a collaborative approach to leadership, which over time I really believe proved to be quite exhausting in spaces that really only value whiteness and their perceived superior ability to be the best corporate executives. So upon leaving corporate after 25 plus years and starting my own business, I still continued down the path of linear, methodical, hierarchical corporate leadership. It was all that I knew. However, I was able to spice it up a bit. I was able to infuse it with love and compassion and collaboration and throwing spirituality into the mix. And now, with the freedom to lead my business my way and the illustrious title of business owner, president, founder, and a detailed, perfected 50-page business plan in hand, I thought for certain that a red carpet lined with investors and business loan opportunities would be rolled out for me. But it wasn't. I was quickly reminded that successful business owners don't look like me, nor do they open spiritual woo-woo centers. Therefore, I was an investment risk, and nobody wanted to take the chance to invest in me, to invest in my business. And so therefore, I had to come up with more creative ways in order to execute my vision. So this is when I began to learn one of the primary tenets of transformative leadership, which is creativity. I made the conscious choice to pursue my vision and create my own path to financing my business. Alfonso Matori and Gabrielle Donnelly, they state that transformative leaders choose to make sense of their own experience, lead their own lives, and contribute something of value to their creative participation in this moment of planetary transformation. I realized that for me, this was really uncharted territory, and I would have to do leadership from a perspective of social change and risk-taking, divesting from any preconceived and socialized constructs of mainstream leadership. Therefore, I made the very brave and conscious choice to self-finance my spiritual healing business with my retirement funds. Now, ironically, these were funds that I received and saved, and I saved for time spent and served in a capitalistic system of greed and oppression. So that's kind of funny how that ended up working out. So in January 2016, I opened the doors of the center and I began to help transform lives by teaching and providing tools for healing, empowerment, wellness, balance, and self-love to hundreds of women. Daily, I was filled with so much love and gratitude for taking the risk to walk this new creative endeavor. 3 short years later, in January of 2019, just the beginning of this year, I was faced with one of my greatest leadership challenges. And this challenge caused me again to dig deeper and demonstrate additional tenets of transformative leadership. On Saturday, January 20th, 2019, I facilitated 2 very powerful workshops at the center. One workshop was about creating radical spaces for love, and the other one was a New Year, New You vision board workshop. So the center was buzzing. It was just filled with people all day who were there really just to begin anew, since it was the beginning of the new year. So at the end of that very, very long day, but very powerful day, I locked the doors to the center, and I always, before I left work every day, left the center every day, I would just always give it a blessing and just say thank you for holding space for whatever transpired that day. Even if it was a day that was quiet and I didn't get a lot of clients in, or even if nobody walked through the doors that day, I was still always grateful that that space held such incredible comfort and joy, even for myself, let alone all of my clients. So just as I did with any other day, I looked back, I locked the center, I looked back, and I just said thank you. I said, wow, what a day. It was filled with so much love. And I thank the center for holding space for all of us. And then I locked the door, knowing that I would not be back to the center for another week because I was traveling to San Francisco to go to my intensives for the semester, for the upcoming spring semester. So after I went to the intensives, on the very last day, before I was scheduled to fly home, I received a notification stating that my flight would be delayed. And it would be delayed for 5 more days. So get this. I was supposed to fly out on a Monday morning. Intensives ended Sunday. And I was supposed to be on a flight first thing out Monday morning. And then, they said, oh no, because of severe weather in Chicago at that time, we had experienced, everybody was calling it a polar vortex. And all flights were canceled or delayed. And, so it was just really a big mess. But I never expected that I wouldn't be able to get home until 5 days later. And so at that point, I decided that I could not afford, I don't think anybody can afford to stay in San Francisco another additional 5 days. So yeah, that was just, I couldn't do that. So what I decided to do was take a really quick flight to Phoenix to spend time with my mom. And that way I could sleep and eat for free. So I waited out the storm in Phoenix. And then on Thursday, the night before I was scheduled to fly back to Chicago, I received a phone call, a very alarming phone call from the building maintenance person stating that the building in which I operated the Journey to Wholeness Center was involved or had suffered greatly from a fire earlier that evening. And later, when I got back to my mom's, visibly, upset and, because we had been out getting massages, just having a great day, enjoying the Phoenix weather and the Phoenix sun, so I made it back to my mom's and just hysterics and devastation because I can tell by the tone of the building manager that, it was a very, very bad fire. And so when I made it back to my mom's place, my sister called me and the fire was on the news. So that's how bad it was. An upstairs unit had caught fire. One of the maintenance persons had set one of the units on fire by trying to blow torch some pipes. So fortunately, everybody made it out safely, but it was just the whole building was pretty much destroyed. And I had the experience of watching it on the local news. My center, so the firefighters walking through the center and all the windows busted out. And yeah, so that was really, really challenging. So after that, or that night, I really fell into a place of gratitude that nobody was hurt. I was profusely grateful that no one was hurt. I was so grateful that I wasn't there. I was grateful that I didn't have clients there. I was grateful, as I said before, that all of the tenants made it out with their lives, because material things can be replaced. And I was grateful, very, very grateful, that I was in Phoenix with my mom and my sister and my niece. And so I had a strong support system there for me to hold me up. So initially, I was filled with a lot of gratitude. You know, even in the moment of loss or devastation, I was filled with quite a bit of gratitude. So in the days following this event, I learned another very, very powerful concept of transformative leadership, and that is being. Just being still, being present, surrendering to whatever is happening or is transpiring. I had to surrender and be very present in this experience, knowing that, it was nothing in that moment that I can do about it. And not only that, days later, it was more about what does leadership now look like? When you have created from the ground up this incredible space, when you have invested all of your retirement money and your savings into the vision and building the vision, and then it's gone. So what does that look like? And how do you stand in that space? How do you fill in that gap and stand in that space and continue to forge ahead with your vision, knowing that it's in divine order? So once again, I was challenged and faced with surrendering and knowing that all things were in divine order and believing in my vision. And not only my vision, but in my ability to recreate, re-envision, and redirect. So when women can stand in the fire, literally, of transformation and come out stronger, more focused, and more determined, they are embodying the power of transformative leadership. So I really feel the heart of transformative leadership really is in being, relating, knowing, and doing as it pertains to all aspects of living and creating. So in those tough, challenging moments, I consciously chose to be very present, an active participant in the experience by surrendering to whatever needed to happen without fear, judgment, or blame. I surrendered to my feelings of mourning and loss while simultaneously leaning into the opportunity for growth, expansion, and to create anew. 5 months after the fire, I found a new beautiful home for the center and restarted my journey. So I really believe that we are multidimensional, complex spiritual beings with superpowers. And these superpowers must be realized and used to transform our individual and collective lives. Transformative leadership calls all of us to be present to our experiences and actively create the personal and universal world we want to experience. Transformative leadership calls us to be courageously creative in how we navigate predominantly white spaces of domination, hierarchy, and status quo. Ultimately, transformative leadership calls us to reclaim our power and to forge a new way of being, relating, knowing, and achieving in the world. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Many blessings.